Debbie?
Is that time already?
Almost. We have 1 minute.
Almost.
Or less. Yep,
So
it's
I-
5.
All right.
5:01.
Oh, let's bring this meeting to order. I'm here. Councilmember Watson and Evans are here. We'll move on to presentations. Personnel update. Sandler.
Okay, thank you very much. We have been hiring a lot of seasonal staff. We have a HR generalist who's been doing an excellent job of bringing on new staff. And we've been also trying our new onboarding software with seasonal staff to let them fill out the paperwork online. So that's been, we're kind of testing out with them and it's working pretty well. Let's see. We have Brandy as a new hire. She's sitting
Welcome,
at this
Brandy.
desk.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome, Brandy. And a new building inspector started today. We have a restoration coordinator, limited term position. It's should be sewer on the maintenance inspector 1. There's a typo there, but we have 2 conditional offers out, getting close to making an offer to one of them.
Is there an extra copy, Brian? If you're,
Oh, yes.
if I just had one, I'll show
Anybody else
with
need a
Brandy.
copy?
I'll share with Brandy.
I would like a copy.
Thank you.
Is Brandy in administration services or common services? Oh, okay.
I wish.
What do you need?
As an extra or like, as an
Oh,
switch
okay.
back?
Okay.
So she filled in for Debbie, and so she'll be taking on the community facilities.
Oh, okay.
There was somebody affected.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to business and action items. AB 2388, Resolution 3156, SDC study change order. Ms. Ryerson.
So it is my understanding that you guys asked for this, that you want to study the SDC separately, have continued conversations. So this will allow FCS to have, I think it is a couple more conversations with the admin staff and then 2 more council meetings to go over SDC rates, how they got to the numbers, and answer any questions that you folks may have. So far, we've received questions from, I think, 1 council member, and we forward those on to FCS, assuming this gets passed. This also adds an additional task. We found out in this process that we're actually paying more on the excise tax than we should be. And so this contract change allows him to go back through all of our sewer excise tax over the last year and show us how we could be doing it differently to save us, I believe it's about $100,000 a year on our sewer excise tax that we pay to the state. Yeah, it's substantial. So this $20,000 for that is a drop in the bucket of what we're going to start saving. We have been, like I said, we were audited in 2018. We've been doing it the way DOR told us we need to be doing it, but he said that there's a different way above my knowledge base, and he will work on the back filings as well as show us and update our spreadsheet for the future.
Why wasn't that caught during audits or anything? That what they wanted done then? Why was that caught?
State audit doesn't do that. That's not their job.
Okay.
But the DOR audit, they don't understand their own stuff, according to FCF. He's a little bit politer about it. He will tell you, well, it's a really complicated, complex matter, and you know, they tell you to do this, but really you can do it this way. So he's willing to take on that battle and get it so that we'll be saving this extra money. We are doing it the way DOR told us to, and it's costing us, he believes, $100,000 more. Is there a small chance that they say, yeah, no, sure, there is, but he sounded really confident that he can make a case to start saving us a lot more money on our excise tax for sewer.
Good catch. That's a good job.
Yeah,
it was all Chris. He caught it.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that we were wanting to look at again anyway. It seems like an easy thing to add on
good.
there. Okay, so what's next for this then?
It's on the consent agenda tonight.
Oh, okay.
Sherry, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it passes tonight, Chris comes back on the 13th?
The 6th.
6th. June 6th meeting. Workshop.
Yeah. So if it passes tonight, he has a workshop meeting, and we're meeting with him this week to discuss, any questions the council members may have, to make sure that they're included.
Perfect.
And that should be our last one, and hopefully
He'll do two.
two. Okay.
He'll do two because we didn't think that one would quite cut it.
Okay.
Obviously,
everybody's-
if he doesn't need to, then he won't use all the money. If we can get it solved in one meeting, he's not going to use all the money.
Sounds good? No issues?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to
Ryan,
sponsor this, Terry?
That's fine, you can put my name on it.
Ryan is on his way, so if you just want to skip over this
Yep.
next one and.
We can do that. So yeah, we're gonna go back to Sherry then. AB 2391, motion for the remainder of ARPA funds.
Yeah, hold on, let me get there. So Ryan's kind of goes hand in hand with this. I'm hoping that the notes will reflect that Ryan gets his passed before mine passes. He can probably speak to it better than I can, so I'll talk about mine. So mine is about the remainder of the ARPA funds. We will have, I didn't take into his account his number, about $2.7 million if you guys approve his parks one, of unspent and unappropriated monies available. So I'll speak of the devil. We'll have about 2.7 million left. It's my recommendation that since we can consider this lost revenue, that this is considered lost revenue. They make me say what we're spending the money on, and so police services and emergency management salaries for the rest of the year is what we would consider that money spent on. There was a lot of money lost in 2020 and 2021, mostly related to recreation. Some of it due to decline in infractions. Cops weren't obviously pulling as many people over. They didn't want to expose themselves to COVID, totally understand. Permitting activity was down and facility rentals were not happening. As you know, the government is threatening to what they're calling claw back that money. So this is a way to appropriate that money so that it's not subject to the clawback with the debt ceiling issues.
With that money being spent on police, I'm imagining a new officer is about 120 a year.
No, so it's current salaries. I have to, so as part of, it's considered lost revenue, but they're saying, okay, then what did you really spend it on? So I have to throw a dart at something and say what we spent it on. It's not really, you're not adding cops, you're not adding anything new.
Oh, okay.
It is just being considered lost revenue. But they forced me in the reporting to say, okay, well, what did you spend it on then? So I just grabbed
Gotcha.
it, anything.
So this would reduce police and emergency management payroll on our budget by the same amount. So we'd have an excess on that budget. And then with that, we could, because that's all general funds, we can do with it as necessary for transfers or whatever at mid-biennium.
Yeah, so at the end of the year, and this gets into kind of a sticky audit situation because you can't, the money can't be used as a rainy day fund, but essentially we've budgeted for these salaries, right? So you can kind of put two and two together as what's going to happen with that money. It's going to end up in your coffers, and the city gets to choose how that money gets spent whenever and if ever you decide to spend it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
And this is on tonight's agenda, or finance committee issues.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And she and I talked about this last bit too, so I know what it's all about. Great idea, I think.
Yeah, and this is something that I've talked to, I believe you were there when I was talking about this with Dan Swatman, Councilmember Evans, at a meeting about a month ago. Yeah.
What was the amount again? 2 point?
It'll,
2.7.
well, right now it's 2.9, but if you approve Ryan's ARPA agenda bill, it'll be about 2.7.
Okay.
What is the M on the ordinance resolution number?
Motion.
Motion.
Okay.
City clerk's office is now signing motion.
And
Oh,
no,
this one.
M is for money.
Yeah. And you said the funds, police, can you say those funds again exactly that it's going to? I know it's in there, but it is.
I'm using, so for reporting purposes to the feds, it is being used for public safety salaries as well as emergency management salaries.
That's right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we'll back up to the other one here. Thank you, Sherry. AB 2384, authorization of use of ARPA funds to hire 2 temporary full-time employees for the Parks Division. Mr. Johnstown.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate your patience. Traffic getting back up the hill after running my son home was a little more than I expected. But here we are. Yes, in front of you this evening is a motion to authorize the expenditure of ARPA funds for the addition of 2 temporary full-time parks employees. This idea was originally brought up at the March 21st, 2023 Community Development Committee meeting. We were having a presentation on, you probably remember that, Tom, we were having a presentation on the operation of our parks in general, but specifically Field 5. Just a couple quick numbers. I mean, here at the city right now, we currently have 8 parks and trails, 142 acres of parks. When you combine that together, I think at the time Jack presented in his presentation that according to the 2022 National Recreation and Park Association Agency Performance Review, staffing of 19.3 acres for FTE is much more ideal than the 71 acres that we currently have between the 2 employees that are in our Parks Division right now, which is a maintenance worker 2 and a Parks lead. And that number even there is a little bit deceiving because a Parks lead is not a full-time field position. There is some requirements that they're doing work in the office as well. So these would be a benefit for us over the next year as we seek to do what we do with taking care of the parks, the trails, basically any of the open space that's at the city. They're also drafted at times to do landscaping at the city facilities as well. So we would like to seek your approval to get this authorization. If we were to bring in 2 maintenance worker 1s using current 2023 salary scale from the current bargaining agreement with the AFSCME union, we would be looking at about $180,000. I think I have, $180,007.27. If we go with 2 maintenance worker 2s, it'd be almost $210,000. The caveat there is I used the upper end of the range to come up with that in order to just be conservative. In all likelihood, they would actually be coming in at the middle of the range, so those numbers would be somewhat less than that. But that is the motion that's in front of you. Happy to take any questions.
My question would be ongoing, right? If we're hiring employees, the ARPA funds pays for it for a year, right? And then what happens next year and the year after? We're just going to have to absorb that from the general fund.
So yes, if the decision is made that, hey, this has been really successful, they have created an immediate impact, we definitely want to keep them around, add these positions to the FTE table, then it's either general fund absorbing those costs, or what I'm hoping is that the council will be looking at other potential revenue generating sources that may be able to help as well instead. I realize that's kind of a big crystal ball type thing right now, but it is certainly something that I'm hoping is considered over this next year. That could also potentially be used.
What did you have in mind?
I think I've mentioned before, I think that a B&O tax is definitely something that should be considered.
Yep.
That's something that is paid by everybody who comes through town that does business here. So it's not just something that residents of the city are getting saddled with. I think that's definitely a leading candidate. The other things that we could look into, although much more rare, is that often that there are times where there are grants available to pay for labor. As a matter of fact, I just got an email today from RCO. They have a grant program this year that we're going to apply for to help for parks maintenance. Of course, just got that today, and I don't know if we'll actually get it, but I am going to apply. So,
You changed the FTE chart then?
And no, I wouldn't. Not
Yeah,
until I do a
that's-
budget amendment, since it's temporary. Another funding source, which is controversial depending on who you talk to, would be an MPD.
Yep.
And I think more appropriate than B&O, but we can, Justin and I probably don't agree on that.
I'm completely good with getting everything off our plates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daycare.
Well,
and
good
this
luck getting
and
through
that.
again. I know there was a challenge before, you know.
And I think, and I'm glad Sherry mentioned that, because I do think there is opportunity there with that as well. And perhaps, as Councilmember McClymon's alluded to in one of the council meetings where this came up, is that perhaps there's opportunity for us to partner with, say, Buckley, or I don't know where Enumclaw is at, but certainly having a parks district. Yeah, thank you. I know that. I mean, politically.
So this is the summer, it gets confusing, Pastor Rica's law.
But, there obviously no conversation has been had yet, but perhaps there is a way to leverage that into something where we can partner with another jurisdiction. I don't know.
And note that would come with more expense too. So if you have a parks district outside of our contiguous borders, then you are going to have to pay people to manage that. You're going to have to pay finance folks to pay those bills. It's a little bit more expensive, which is why cities have opted to have an MPD, which I believe Councilmember McClymon's was not a fan of the city running the MPD. But there are pros and cons, so discussion for another day. Regarding Ryan's agenda bill, I would propose you put an end date on it of October 31, 2024, gives some time to hire and gives me an end date for ARPA so that I can have actual reporting dates and an end date. That would be my request, to add a ending October 31.
Yeah, that'd be great, Sherry. I'd have no issues with that.
Is this on the consent agenda tonight?
No, you'll see it at the June 13th.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember seeing it. I think it's great. The way help solve the problem for now, because it's an existing problem.
Move to consent.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, approval of meeting notes.
They're good, no corrections.
I thought you had a correction.
No, we have for the council, no correction. The last two.
All right.
Sorry. Right on. Well, you're in the chambers, I you want those now.
Any open discussion?
I have a question for Sherry. So the sales tax decreasing last 3 months, do you foresee a concern for us in the future as that goes down the pike? With my retail background, I kind of plan those ahead. Do you see a concern that way?
So I had a very diligent deputy mayor contact me today about this, and I let him know that I feel that this is a result of the forced federal rates going up. It's causing the economic slowdown, which is what they're hoping for. So I think you're going to continue to see it decline. We had a couple of months up there that were not negative. And I believe if you look, those months, because it's 2 months different, so I believe those were actually the holiday months, right? So your December spending month. So yeah, I think this will continue. I did budget for a little bit lower than what was happening previously, because I anticipated this happening. But it is something I will definitely be keeping an eye on and making sure that our revenues are coming in enough to cover our expenditures. But yeah, I do see this continuing.
Yeah, because those are pretty significant.
Yeah, they are.
It's not a half.
We're not used to that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look, it's mostly retail. When it's construction, that one can be a little bit up and down because there was a big construction project, View by Vintage or whatever it was. I don't know the names of them. So I would expect that one to fluctuate a little bit more, but this was more focused around retail and food and beverage. So with those going down, I think it's part of the forced slowdown.
Do we typically see, like in January, February, after the holidays, a dip anyway? This is just bigger than normal? Or?
It's bigger than normal. So it's 20%. Yeah, you have the 5-year there, but it's 20% over last year. It's under last year at the same time frame. So yeah, you usually see a little bit of, people slowing down, obviously, in January, not wanting to spend as much. But this is 20% under last year.
I mean, what it really is looking like is what 2020 should have been without a COVID. Yeah, the raise, it seems like we're back to equal and growing off of that.
Yeah, if you're looking at January, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Terry had asked and alluded to, it was a lot slower then, but the sale increases were still every year.
But if you look at last
year, so it'll be interesting to see what happens next month. But I believe you're going to continue to see maybe not 20%. I mean, that's a pretty big hit. I wasn't expecting that big of a hit. I was expecting maybe more like 10. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next month. It may be worse than anticipated,
Well, we got to use the R word if we hit a third month, right?
It's just our sales tax, though, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but the revenue we planned on.
The most significant.
I hate November come along. We got to make huge cuts and what we're doing.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I'm paying attention to it. It's not anything that I'm concerned about, other than this is. I didn't anticipate that we would have such significant 20% drops over last year, but I also didn't increase us by 20% over last year. So it's not something I'm super concerned about yet. Next month, I'll pay a little bit more attention and maybe start getting back to, during COVID, I was doing some monthly reporting, at least for myself, to kind of keep a better eye on things. And, it may be something that I have to do again. We may be back in a situation where it's closer to a Great Recession type of deal. So.
You used the R word.
Yeah, there it is.
I know.
All I got.
Okay. You good?
I'm good.
All right. I'm good. All right. I guess we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. Yeah.